Just like the other monotheistic faiths, Judaism and Christianity, Islam continued to have a significant impact on societies between 1200 and 1450. In this video, we're going to frame your investigation of topics 1.2, 1.5, and 2.4, all of which have to do with Islamic civilization in this time period. In Unit 0, we looked at the birth of Islam and how quickly it spread across the Middle East, North Africa, and even into the Iberian Peninsula. Islam profoundly influenced the economic and political development of each area in which it took root, increasing its trade and centralizing its politics. Let's break down the explanations about why it had these general effects and then investigate a particular case in West Africa. Every economic transaction carries a risk of violence, theft, or fraud.
When the son of the deposed king of Nigeria emails you directly asking for help, you help.
Because of the high regard given merchants in Islamic civilization, some of these threats were mitigated. Sharia law protected merchants, required the repayments of debts, reinforced contracts, and punished theft. And it gave people a legal system with courts and judges to have their disputes settled. With many of the risks removed, networks of trade within the Dar al-Islam flourished and economic exchanges increased. Now, it's true that at times Islam spread militarily, but the obvious attraction it had to merchants was a huge catalyst for its diffusion as well. And merchants, who by definition moved from place to place buying and selling, became vehicles for the further spread of Islam. Under the umbrella of its protection, networks of communication, exchange, and travel became more fluid. The net result of this was impressive. Amidst this movement, areas with poor soil might discover a crop from another location that grows well in its conditions. A technology for irrigation in one region could easily find its way to a dry area and allow agriculture for the first time. In this manner, new technologies diffused and crops such as spinach, okra, and citrus spread across Islamic civilization, filling in gaps, satisfying deficiencies, and raising the overall efficiency and wealth of Islamic civilization. Animals were taken from region to region as well, and none had a larger impact than the camel. Camels are perfectly adapted to the environment of deserts. During sandstorms, they can close their nostrils and shield their eyes with a second set of transparent eyelids. Their body temperature rises with the external temperature, preventing them from having to sweat like we do to stay cool. Their kidneys recycle their urine multiple times to extract as much water as possible. All of this enables them to stay hydrated for a long time. So once they get a good drink of water, they're good to go for up to 10 days. This meant it was possible for caravans to cross the Sahara and connect previously isolated West Africa with the Mediterranean and Middle East. Gold, salt, and slaves moved back and forth. So did Islam, and when it entered the sub-Saharan region of Africa, it not only increased trade, but it helped consolidate political power. African kings were particularly attracted to Islam. The concept of the caliphate that rolls political, military, and religious leadership into a single authority strengthened the African concept of kingship for those who converted. Now, Islamic states in Africa didn't call their leaders caliphs, but this notion of combined authority provided a conceptual basis for unity by merging different vectors of power into a single figure. As in the Arab world, Islam made possible the first large empires in an area previously characterized by tribal loyalties and bonds of kinship. Islam, trans-Saharan trade, and the political development of West Africa are all part of the same story. Now, rarely does a single person embody three different topics in ancient world history, but in this case, one does. His name is Mansa Musa, and he was the king of Mali in West Africa from 1312 to 1337. He stands as an important Muslim in African state building who benefited enormously from the salt and gold trade across the Sahara. The role of Islam in Mali is well represented by the famous mosque in Djenné, constructed just before Mansa's rule. Although rebuilt in 1906, this place of worship still bears the features of a fortress, as well as a center of political administration, separate domains of authority often fused together in Islamic civilization. During Mansa's reign, the city of Timbuktu was emerging as the nexus of caravan routes, exchanging salt and gold across the Sahara and the Niger River that connected it to the southern regions of West Africa. Trade brought Islamic scholarship, and the city became a haven for trade in Islamic books, such as the Quran and religious commentaries. Mali was inaugurated into the Islamic world by Mansa Musa, who was the first major political leader from sub-Saharan Africa to embark on the Hajj, or the pilgrimage to Mecca. His entourage consisted of 60,000 people and 12,000 servants, all wearing imported Persian silk. 80 camels in his caravan carried 300 pounds of gold each, which he famously gave out to people along the way. Now just imagine his entrance into Mecca during the month of Ramadan, when Muslims from across the entire Dar al-Islam were present. They certainly returned home with tales of this exotic king of unimaginable wealth from a place formerly unknown in most of the Muslim world. Mansa Musa put Mali on the map, and sub-Saharan Africa was now plugged into the religious and economic exchanges of the greater Dar al-Islam. Now, there's a lot of content I've left out of this brief sketch of these topics, so pay close attention as you analyze this week's primary sources and complete your textbook readings. And I'll see you next week when we look at South Asia and the exchanges in the Indian Ocean.